I'm a lot less wiggly now, which is fun.
Studio.
Moshi Moshi, I hope you missed me because I'm back with hot, new, fresh, monetizable content. As promised, it's time for the collage tutorial. I just released my wellness journal. That's right, the companion workbook to the e-marketing guide, which is free on Patreon currently, is finally up. So if you want it for free, please go check out patreon.com/spazzaticstudio. I figured now would be a great time to take a look at the journal, and I'll show you how I made it. So first of all, what the heck is a wellness journal? Well, after I wrote the e-marketing guide, I realized that a lot of applicable advice there is hard to keep track of in a regular planner. Also, while I do like using the Later app, you usually have to pay for more storage on those sites, and so I wanted somewhere I could sit down and really look at all my data and tweak it by hand. I assessed my needs as a content creator and an artist, so I need somewhere to budget. I need somewhere to record my physical process, eating, medication, exercise. I need a content calendar that I can edit on the go, and I need somewhere that I could put the regular data from my waking life that can seamlessly integrate into a content schedule. Okay, so the first thing I toyed with is a future-proof calendar. You have enough slots to DIY any month, and I like the year week at a glance model because you can jot down anything that's really significant and you have 5 week slots to play with. So it's a month's worth of weeks technically. And you can also budget by month ahead of just budgeting by expense. So the second section is a weekly budget, and I have to shout out Patreon. Thank you for your input specifically on this section. I like to put my studio expenses in a spreadsheet so that I can do an end of the month tally, but sorting through paper receipts kind of sucks real bad. So in this instance, you can clearly see your financials and you get a beginning and end of month tally. So I'm going to link the Canva templates I used for the journal in the description. Since this is the first journal I've ever made, I did borrow layout elements from the premium templates available on Canva's marketplace. And shout out to our patron Adam for suggesting having a separate section for specific budget or miscellaneous spending. He was right. It's a great idea, so I added one. If you're like me and you like to plan your day hour by hour, the next page is for you. It's a pretty simple layout, but since this is mainly geared towards content creators, I left some spaces where you can separate a task by platform. There's a task list and a to-do list, so you can easily flip back and forth, and the next pages are the self-care pages. You know I had to include an Illustrator meal of the day. If you're new here, I like to post cooking on Instagram and call it the Illustrator meal of the day. Call me corny, but I was born on the cob and I love a good 80s themed segment in my content. So you can track your food intake, your mood, your aches and pains, your stretch goals, and of course doctor's appointments, meds, and I found a really cool template for blood sugar tracking, which people on Patreon said that they would like to have seen. And I keep a separate journal for when I make adjustments to my meds so that I can note how I feel every time we change something, and incorporating it into this journal makes my life a lot easier, so hopefully it makes your life easier. And the general idea is that all of the pages are repeatable, so if you're in the first 2 weeks of a new med, you can just reuse the same tracking page in general for every 2 days. So with a total of 13 pages, there's actually 6.2 billion possible page configurations that you can do. Math is wild. Finally, I included a sketch dump page. I like junk journaling. I think I just secretly love like hoarding trash and sticking it in places the trash isn't supposed to go. I'm a raccoon in a trench coat, but I wanted to brainstorm and I wanted a brainstorm page so I don't have to flip through my regular journal. I'm currently reading The Artist's Way, and while I love that it comes with a morning pages journal, it's basically just an info dump that you do yourself. You can do it on any kind of paper. It's clunky to have like multiple journals, so this journal is my current setup, and as you can see, it's a lot easier than toting around all of these different books. I'll put a picture of how many books I have to keep track of when I do my market research. It's a lot. And in my journal, you also have a mood board template and a couple places to paste your sparkly trash or things that you download online so you can collage and scribble until you're feeling confident to sit down and create. This is the first iteration of the journal. I took the community's feedback into consideration, so thank you so much to our loyal product testers, Adam, Rana, Andrea, and Blake. The journal is currently only available as a PDF, but all the proceeds are going to my local men's shelter in honor of our shared friend, Chair. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, please check out my men's mental health awareness post on Instagram. I started the campaign for Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, but I think I'm going to just keep it going. Like, obviously June is over, but we're just going to keep it rolling. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Chair was my friend of many years. He passed away by his own hands, and in his honor, I rallied my friends last year to donate over $1,000 to charity in his honor, and this year we raised enough money through digital products on my site to donate to MDP, which is a men's shelter in my city. So if you're interested in donating to a good cause and you want to get something out of it, like a super cool wellness journal, head over to www.spazzaticstudio.com and pick up a journal. Okay, so we saw the journal. Let's talk about how I made the journal. I'm a multimedia artist, which is a fancy way of saying I use a lot of different techniques and different mediums to make whatever I'm making. And the main medium that I'm drawn to outside digital art is collage. I love junk journaling. I love stationery. When I was a little kid, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. Because, like, not for the love of the game, I wanted to own a lot of stationery, and I thought for some reason you could, like, only own cool stationery if you taught elementary school. Don't ask me why I thought that. I'm just a stupid kid. So, I make my own screensavers because it's a nice mix of digital art and collage, and usually they're a mix of the premium Canva assets. I really like the 3D ones, and when I can't find what I'm looking for, I'll just scan or photograph things. So stickers, trash, papers, scraps, objects, and then assets I make in Ibis Paint or Procreate. The elements, basically, I like assemble them. I print what I can't find online, and then on a blank sheet, I stick them down with low-tack tape so that I can scan them and then take them apart later. And now I can import everything onto Canva and add more assets or make edits. And of course, I can import all of that back into Procreate and edit more by hand. I know I keep talking about Canva. This isn't like a sponsored video, although I wish, but I've used Canva for years and I pay the yearly premium subscription so that I can get licensing for the premium assets. It's about $200 a year currently, but I did the math and I've saved over $600 a year during just the first year alone. So for me, it's certainly worth it. You can absolutely get assets for free, and I'll show you how to do that. But first, we'll do a basic Canva tour, and I'll show you how I edit a basic template to create the journal. So since I've never made a journal before, I spent some time checking out templates. Canva has a custom canvas size option. So if you're making, for example, like a Discord profile picture, you can input the exact pixels that you want. If you're looking for a specific size or vibe, you can use keywords to find a layout that you like. Since I had a vague idea of what I wanted for the journal, but I was having trouble doing a custom layout because I felt like I didn't really know how to group the elements together, and then things were either looking too small or too big, and I was not vibing. So searching for a layout helped a lot, and I'll drop the layouts that I used in the description if you want to make your own journal so you can check them out. Otherwise, Canva has an asset library of graphics, customizable charts where you input your own data, and then there's stock images. With the paid membership, you can use a lot more graphics. So if you have existing projects on Canva itself as well, you can import assets from things you've made. So for example, sometimes I'll import an entire work. When I update my media kit, I basically just like put a pin in the media kit and then I import everything. And you can import like layer by layer. So all of the assets are like individual. It's like the layers on a drawing software. And obviously you can import whatever you want from your own computer. So like any drawing app, you can adjust the layers' opacity and placement. You also have options to animate text, and Canva has some basic effects and animations that you can add to add interest to your lettering, or if you decide to edit videos on Canva. Honestly, the free library is super useful. Like, I used my account for many years and for free. I used it in college for presentations and slideshows. With the paid account, you can also make a custom brand kit, so your marketing tools are always in the same place. And when you have obvious brand colors, like I do, this is super handy, especially for things like updating media kits, right? Because you need to constantly be like updating it. Have an app marketplace. I've never used it. I encourage you to poke around. It seems to be more suited for videos. You can add things like captions and music to your content. I also like the options for how to save your content once it's done. It gives it to you in many forms, including like transparent images and GIFs, which is great if you use iMovie Maker, like I am right now. Canva has a background remover for images in the premium mode, and I use this when I make mistakes. Like if I realize I have to resize something and things are like cut off weird, I'll just remove my own background and go through the resizing steps again. So that's Canva at like the glanciest of glances. A free workaround, obviously, is to find your images on Google Images and then plug them into a free background remover online, import them, and then place them on your canvas. If you're like me and you like taking pictures of like stuff IRL, this is the easiest way. So here are some outfit collages I made in 2024. I spent the day photographing things in my room, and I did that all obviously for free. And if you want to get real nostalgic with it, you can take a scanner and physically scan things. So I've done that for computer backgrounds, but since we've switched to having like our phones or computers and they're in our pockets all the time, I just use the document scan feature of my iPhone camera, but obviously scan things the old-fashioned way if you have a Bluetooth printer. Okay, so let's talk about how I use collage in my actual art. Usually I do my rendering and then I export everything as a PNG. The fun part is deciding on a theme, so we're going to plan ahead to include assets I find, but also anything I can make. So sometimes this means just doodling on the work in a separate layer, but after my surgery, I was using my downtime to play around with the 3D model and pixel art capability of Ibis Paint. So here's how you can make some custom sprites, and this isn't a tutorial I came up with, so I'll link the one that I use down below. You can draw directly in Ibis Paint. You'll use the pixel brush and then just color, but make sure that you separate every aspect of the object. And then you go in the relief filter, and then in the settings of that filter, you just make minor adjustments, and once you're happy with it, you can export. My favorite way to make sprites is actually to use both Procreate and Ibis, so basically I draw the shapes I want, export to Ibis, trace the elements with the pixel brush on a small size, and then go through the steps. And then I'll export everything again to Procreate so I can add finishing touches before exporting. I'll also use the same color as the main body of the sprite to do a pixel outline. And then you can use things in Procreate like the airbrush, which the one that I use that's modified is free on Patreon. And you can add some subtle color differences. In my case, I'm adding noise. The rest really just boils down to using your Procreate layers to differentiate images. So if you leave the layers unmerged, you can reorder them to your heart's content. And in the case of text, like I did with my Mellow, you can make text and background in Procreate, export into Ibis, and then use the usual steps on the relief filter. And then I just put it back in Procreate and added a chromatic aberration just on the letters to get distortion. Remember that the point of editing the relief filter is you can have different heights and textures. So in the case of the panda rice ball, I'm closer to a cooked lumpy rice texture by manually corrupting the photo. So I've changed the default sliders for texture, lighting, and height. And it works like a topographical map, so just keep that in mind. If you want some crash course tips on starting with collage, it's very basic. You just follow your heart. Collage is messy by nature. I don't always have a plan. A lot of the time, I just wing it until it looks good. Mixing digital and physical elements is great for jumpstarting visual contrast. You can try collaging in black and white first so you can be sure that you like your composition before you commit to different elements. It's always preferable to overlap materials to create dimension. So think of your objects in space, which is a fancy way of considering at which depth your audience sees various elements. Some artists find breathing room in negative space because it helps to give the art some direction. Don't be afraid to include words or phrases to space out images and objects. When I first started junk journaling, I used to cut out words from newspapers that I got for free at the bus station. So collages don't have to be expensive in any way. And remember that collages can be interactive. You can animate elements on Canva. You can use flaps if you're doing like IRL collage. You can use moving assets presets to give the impression that we're seeing a computer screen. And finally, remember that when putting together a physical collage, you'll probably want to do low tack masking tape since you're working from top to bottom. You can't undo your bottom layer outside of a drawing software, so keep that in mind. Washi tape works as well, especially if you're just going to scan it for digital art and you don't need anything permanently fixed in place. Well, kitties, I hope you enjoyed. I love collage, and I hope you feel inspired to give it a try. As usual, come hang out on the second channel, Spaz After Dark, for more fun art adventures. This week, I'm all about making miniatures. You can find me on TikTok at Spazatic Studio for more lifestyle content, and on Instagram at Spazatic Studios Creations for the new My Mellow. It's the one that I showed here. If you want to access the journal and a free marketing guide, please come join the free tier of the free Patreon, or visit www.spazaticstudio.com. And speaking of, thank you to our lovely cast of patrons: Cleo, CapitanSklero, Bluuboyuwu, Josh Cheng, Adam Velazquez, Anita, Spicy Knife, Milk Honey, First Last, Sakura, RP, Adie, Gwen, Cat, Leo, Ace, Blake, Noop, Not a Necrowizard, Delta Animations, Akuzan.com, BigMonke, Auri, and Andrea. I am so happy that you're all here, as usual. And of course, thank you, person, for watching this video until the end. So keep it weird, besties, and I will be back soon with a very special video essay.